Hello, good evening. Today is Sunday, January 31st, and this is Monique Mades, coordinator of the Pueblo Food Project. I am excited to respond to all of your great questions regarding the start of your food and farming curriculum for the spring semester. First, I want to start by saying thank you so much for all of the really thoughtful and interesting questions you posed. I had a lot of fun reading through them and a lot of fun thinking about my answers. And so I'm going to share some of those with you now. All right, let me see if I can get this presentation started. Here we go. Okay. What foods can you grow on the towers? You can grow leafy greens, strawberries, small peppers, cherry tomatoes, green onions, flowers, herbs, anything that has a smaller root system. For example, think about a carrot. This much of the carrot grows underground. So you probably won't be able to grow a carrot in the towers, but you can grow things that have a shorter root system and sprout up. So bear in mind how much space the plant needs above the ground and below the ground, and that will give you a guess as to whether or not you can grow it in the tower. But definitely you'll see a lot of leafy greens and even some strawberries that you can experiment with. What is my least favorite fruit or vegetable? I love all fruits and vegetables. I really do. The picture on the screen there is a stir fry that I made all with vegetables that I personally grew. So every single thing on that plate is something that I grew myself. I think there are about 9 or 10 different kind of vegetables in that stir fry. I love them all. I really enjoy, as they say, to eat the rainbow. So I like to make my plates as colorful as possible by using as many different fruits and veggies available. What is the easiest food to grow? This is kind of a trick question because it really depends on your climate. It depends on where you're located. It depends on how much rain you get. It depends on access to water. It depends on how you're growing it. But something that I have found to be quite easy to grow is potatoes. On the screen there, you see a picture of a potato that we kind of let go past its prime. Sometimes you'll see in your kitchen the potato is starting to grow all of these nodules on the outside. That is actually the potato's attempt to take root and continue to grow. So if you let that potato kind of keep on going and then find, a really nutrient dense pile of dirt, stuff it in there and give it some water, you'd be surprised that in a couple of weeks, if you continue to take care of it, you'll see leaves start to sprout. I also think that leafy greens are pretty straightforward to grow. It just depends if you have pests, little bugs and aphids that might come eat them before you do. But as far as plants that like to germinate very quickly, and you'll learn what that means, and then shoot up their cotyledons, another word that you'll come to know, I find that leafy greens are pretty eager to get going. What is your favorite plant to grow and what is your favorite berry to grow? I love growing dill. Dill is an herb that can be used in all kinds of things. You can use it with pickles, you can use it in eggs, you can use it on potatoes, you can use it in dressings, you can you can use it for a lot. It's one of my favorites and it's so beautiful. I like the delicate ferns and I like the beautiful flower that forms. And if you let the flower keep growing and growing and growing, it will make an abundance of seeds. So you will have dill seeds for the next season, which is really amazing. They're also very beautiful to put in a vase. My favorite berry to grow is strawberry. The picture you see before you is one of the most beautiful strawberries I think I've ever grown. I'm very proud of that one. I like strawberry a lot because the plants come back year after year. So they're known as a perennial and they kind of have a mind of their own. They shoot off in both directions, and it becomes really interesting to see how they spread and which flowers become fruits and otherwise. So I think strawberry is very interesting. Bees also love strawberry plants, and I'm always excited to support anything that supports the bees. Can people get sick from garden or farm plants? This was a really great question. I appreciated this question a lot because the fact of the matter is, yeah, you can. But definitely there are ways to prevent that from happening. And the most likely cause of someone getting sick from a plant or a garden plant or a farm plant is because someone's pet, you know what. So the first thing to consider is you really want to practice safe growing practices. You want to understand what is in your soil. You want to make sure that there hasn't been any toxic dumping there. You want to avoid using chemicals and sprays if you can. You definitely do not want to allow your pets to take care of business in the garden. That's a big no-no. And of course, you want to wash your produce after you harvest it. So just like with, most things food related, um, you need to practice safely, just like cooking in the kitchen. You wouldn't cut some raw meat and then cut your salad vegetables on top of that. It's the same in the garden. You want to use common sense and really make sure that the area that you're growing your food is protected from certain pests and, pets doing their thing. Which crop has the best yield or quantity? This is another interesting but tricky question to answer. So it really depends on what you are measuring. In terms of nutrient density, cabbages are exceptional. The two pictures that I have here on the screen are of two different cabbage varieties. And if you've ever held a cabbage, it's quite heavy. It's super dense. The leaves are really close together and they're packed full of nutrients. So from my perspective, cabbages is one of the hardiest, most nutrient dense vegetables that we can grow. Kohlrabi is another one. Kohlrabi kind of looks like this almost alien figure, and it is native to Germany. Lots of German cuisine includes kohlrabi. It's kind of as though apple and potato had a baby. And it's really tasty in salads and things like that. Beets are also very nutrient dense and very dense themselves. So I would say beets are a good one on the list. Tomatoes, when you treat a tomato plant right, it will go off. You will get so many tomatoes from a plant that's well taken care of. And the same thing goes for squash. Maybe you've seen it happen during the grow season. A neighbor comes around with some extra zucchini or some extra yellow squash because they are really aggressive growers. Given the right conditions, they will produce and produce and produce. So those are some of the ones that I think have the greatest yield combined with a high nutrient density, which for me is very important. What is the best plant to eat? Why do we eat meat? Also, really good question. So, again, all vegetables and all fruits will have their own unique benefits. Some plants are a really good source of iron, whereas other plants are a really good source of vitamin C. So the best approach is to eat as many as possible. As me, eat that rainbow, eat as many varieties of fresh fruits and vegetables as you can get your hands on, because each one of them will have their own positive impact on your body, so long as you're eating a variety. My personal favorite of all time, hands down, is garlic. I find garlic to be the most diverse and useful ingredient in my kitchen. Sometimes I eat it raw, I roast it, I saute it, I put it in almost everything. And it's really good for the heart. So garlic is top on my list. Number two is tomato, for sure. I absolutely love tomato in all of its forms, but if I had to pick one and I had to say which is your favorite, I'm going to go with garlic. On the question of meat, it's a really interesting question. Do humans need to eat meat? In today's modern society, when we have access to fresh fruits and vegetables basically 365 days a year, the requirement for a meat is quite different from when humans lived in a place like Colorado, when there was no refrigeration and there was no greenhouses. And really, it was a roving band of travelers who needed to eat. And so, one way to do that, especially in the cold winter months when you couldn't really grow your own vegetables, was to use animals as a source of protein and nutrition. But now, really, eating meat is a choice. You don't have to have meat to survive. It is a very nutrient dense food, and there are a lot of benefits that people gain from eating meat, but it certainly is a choice, just like everything we put in our body. You don't have to have it. You can enjoy it if it's something that you and your family enjoy. And if you choose not to, then there are many arguments for that as well. So really, it's not a must. It's not a done deal that folks will eat meat. A lot of people view it as a choice. How would you know exactly how many seeds to use for growing food and getting plants started? Ooh, and I have an example for you. So, most every seed has the potential to become a plant. That's why seeds exist. They contain in it all of the genetic information and the starting blocks to create a plant. Um, some seeds are stronger than others. And so it could be like a process where a plant will have many, 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 many seeds, because some of them will be duds, but some of them will be good too. And it could be the other way around, where the seed is so strong and so secure that it only has one. Think about an avocado versus, let's say, a kiwi. A kiwi has many, many seeds, whereas an avocado has one big powerhouse seed. So every seed has the potential. When you are planting, and I have a good feeling that you'll get to observe this, you really want to pay attention to your seed packet. Your seed packet will contain a ton of really useful information for you. And I'm going to zoom in here for you. It will show you when to plant. It will show you how deep to plant, how far away you want to plant, how much water it needs, how long it's going to take to grow. So this is just one example for sugar snap peas, one of my favorites. Here is another seed packet, a different company, and the information looks a little different, but it's all still there. This is standard when you're buying seeds. So you really want to make sure that you read that packet. It'll give you the best info, and then you'll know exactly how many and how far and how much sun and how much water and all that good stuff. And if you give me just one second, I'm going to take a brief pause and I will be back with you in just a second. Okay, how many farms that grow harvest foods are there in Pueblo? A really great question. I'm glad you're curious about what the scene looks like here. You might be really surprised to know that there are 839 farms in Pueblo County. This includes vegetable farms, it includes fruit orchards, it includes ranches where they grow cattle or goats or chickens. And it also includes hay and alfalfa farms. It also includes some other types of farms that are present in our county as well. All in, we have over 890,000 acres in farming. That's quite a bit of acreage. An acre is around 40,000 square feet. So compare that to something like a football field, and you come to find out pretty quickly that we have a lot of acres in farming. So, yeah, it's good for you to know that there's an abundance of farms out there, all doing very different things. And many of them are quite close to town. If you jumped in a car and drove out to the county, you'd run into a bunch of them. And a really great time to go is starting around June when all of the produce is coming out of the ground and you can see for yourself where it grows and have it at its freshest moment straight from the harvest. Do we get food from the same place every day, or does it come from many different places? Also, a really interesting question. Food comes from many, many, many different places every day, and it really changes with the season. For example, we grow tomatoes here in Pueblo County, but we only harvest them in August, September, and October. But if you recognize at the grocery store, there are tomatoes there year round. Think about bananas. Have you ever seen a banana tree in Pueblo? But somehow we have bananas at the grocery store 365 days a year. So, really, it's coming from many, many places and it changes with the season. And when I say the season, I'm really talking about the sun's cycle. The sun plays a huge role in which foods are available when at a particular location across the country, not just here in Pueblo. So you'll come to learn again through your unit how important the sun cycle is and why folks are very interested in new growing technologies that aren't so season dependent. How many places in the United States ship crops to Colorado? Well, similar to the last question, I would argue that many places from all over the country, many states ship products to Colorado. And in fact, we get products from all over the world. It's not just the United States that our food comes from. If you're really curious about where your food comes from, you can always check the label. It is required by law. The federal government requires that the country of origin is listed on every food product with a label. So, some examples on your screen here, I show a mustard, a delicious mustard that happens to be a product of Germany. Then you see a label for this baby arugula, and that is a product of the USA, very likely coming out of California. And this last example here is an oil mix, and some of it is from the United States and some of it is from Canada. So if you're really curious, take a look at the label. I guarantee you the country of origin is on there. How do people get food packed, then get it to the store? Who else is involved and what do they do? This is a really great question. You're remembering that cycle that we talked about, the food system. It's not just one piece. So many, many, many products are processed. They go from being a raw ingredient into a processed product. So when you go into the grocery store and you see all of those different food items that are in packages, that has undergone some processing, and it's 100% likely that it happened in a packing plant. This particular example is a juice factory. You see these bottles of juice running down a conveyor belt. So, somewhere within this system, they're pumping in all of the ingredients for this bottled beverage. And then the beverage is filled into these bottles. The bottles are capped, and the bottles continue on a conveyor belt into a box. Then the box is loaded into a truck. The truck might just be carrying beverages, or it might be carrying a bunch of products. And then the truck goes to the store. There might be a step or two in between. Sometimes the trucks go from the factory to a distribution center where many products are mixed. So one truck shows up to a store with many products at once. Other times it's what they call a full load. So the truck just has one item and they're taking it to one place. It really depends on the product and the store. The truck that you see on the screen here, and I'm just going to move, I don't know if it makes a difference from you where I move my speaker window, but it was blocking the picture. You might have seen this truck somewhere on the road here in Pueblo. You might not be able to tell from the outside of the truck, but this particular company supplies all of the food for Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. So if you see one of these trucks driving around town, it's going to have quite a variety of products on it, all likely coming from a factory and going out to all of the restaurant businesses that it services. Distributors and co-packers and product packing facilities and processing facilities play a huge part in the food system. Really good question. Let's see, I'm going to move my window again here. Is a fast food restaurant part of the food system? Yes, it is. The fast food is definitely part of the food system. The Pueblo Food Project did a survey, not the one that y'all took, thank you for that, but another one geared specifically towards adults. And it come to find out that 33% of Puebloans eat primarily fast food. It just so happens that right around 30% of Puebloans are also obese. This is an interesting coincidence. We know that obesity is a diet-related disease. We also know that fast food has a very particular set of nutrition facts. And so the reality that about 33% of Puebloans eat primarily fast food and about 30% of Puebloans are obese, you begin to wonder if those things are related. Here in the graphs that I'm presenting to you, you'll see two lines. The blue line is the rate of obesity in Pueblo, and the gray line is the rate of obesity in the state of Colorado. And you'll notice that the Pueblo line is much, much higher than the rest of the state. So this is something that we are hoping to work on as part of the Pueblo Food Project, because we know that access to healthy, nutritious, delicious, affordable food is a key way to prevent obesity. But thank you for the question. Yes, a lot of people survive on fast food alone, and they are certainly a big part of the food system. Does everyone help the food system? Yes, this is another great question. You know, everyone can help the food system by the choices that we make. It's really important to remember that the food system relies on many, many people all working very hard to bring you nutritious, safe to eat food. We put a lot of trust into our food system. For example, all of the people working so hard at the grocery store, all of the people working so hard in the restaurant industry, all of the truckers that drive the food from one place to another, all of the farmers and the processors, everyone is doing their part. And you, as an eater, can do your part too by making choices that are good for you, good for the planet, and good for our food system community. So everyone can help the food system, and that's by the choices that we make. Why do we fight over food? Yeah, this is a really important question. Well, first and foremost, some people simply are not getting enough to eat. Some people, even in our community, even in Pueblo, Colorado, go hungry at night. And this is a major challenge. This is a big problem. For others, eating nutritious food is a big challenge. That might be because they're unable to get to an access point where fresh, delicious food is available. It might be because they don't have a means to cook fruits and vegetables if they're able to access them. It could be because they can't afford the food, even if they could get to it and cook it. So there are lots of reasons why food can cause a fight. Sometimes we have families and folks in our community who work so much they don't have time to cook their own dinner. And so the best thing that they can do to make sure they have something to eat is to grab something quickly from a place like fast food restaurant. So there are lots of layers to this question. It's a very, very important question. And Pueblo is not the only place that experiences challenges with hunger. Actually, many places around the world have much more severe hunger problems than the United States. There are some countries in the world where people die of starvation every day. You hear it and you think, oh, sure, but that's the reality. That's the real deal. This is happening right now. Someone is dying of starvation. So it's really important that we find gratitude for our opportunity to eat. We thank our families and our school lunch ladies and our neighbors and the people working at volunteering at the free community pantries who are trying to get food to us to put into our bellies, because it's not a guarantee, even though it should be, you know? And it's really, really, really critical to understand and to really believe in your heart that in order for a community to be healthy, everyone needs access to fresh fruits and vegetables, no matter how that happens. In order for our community to really be healthy and really thrive, everyone needs access to fresh fruits and vegetables. The project that you're working on is so amazing because you're going to grow a bounty of fresh vegetables from your grow towers, and you're going to be able to contribute that, if you so choose, to places like the Soup Kitchen or the Rescue Mission, who are really dedicated to helping folks who don't have a place to eat and can't find a meal to get one. So you are now part of the solution, and I'm so grateful that your class is taking this on, and just really excited for the good produce to come. So thank you in advance for all of your hard work. It's very important. Why don't we have more fresh food? Great question. The first thing I would say is, where are you looking? Because in fact, Pueblo has an abundance of farms. So it could be that you might not be checking in the right places. For example, of course, you want to check the produce section at a grocery store. There are many free food pantries around town that give out fresh produce on a daily basis. There are farm stands dotted up and down the county line. And really, for the freshest food possible, you want to visit the farm. That's where it's boom, straight out of the ground and onto your plate. That's the real ticket right there. If getting to a farm is tough, you can try the farmers market at Mineral Palace during the summer. There's a bus that goes right there. And if you're still having a hard time kind of figuring out where to find fresh produce, please, please, please visit the Pueblo Food Project website. We have lots of resources there. You can even drop me an email. I'm happy to help problem solve if that's something that would be helpful for you and your family. My email is Monique, MONIQUE, at pueblofoodproject.org. If you were to ignore the food cycle for one day, or if the food cycle broke down for one day, how would it affect our community? Very interesting question. I think we recognized during the COVID-19 pandemic how fragile all of our community systems really are. And I want to point out that the food system is critical infrastructure for our community's survival. One day of a broken food system might mean that somebody doesn't eat. It's really, really, really that important. So we do our best to make sure that there is a constant flow and that everyone is able to access that food as necessary. If the food system stopped for one day, there would be major panic. But we can avoid that by learning how to grow our own food, by supporting our local farmers, by really understanding where our food comes from and how it gets there, and kind of mitigating. Mitigating means slowing down or stopping some of the challenges that might lead to a food system shutdown. How can you grow something without soil? Well, you are going to learn all about hydroponic growing this semester, which is a really cutting edge technique. And for some places around the world, hydroponic growing and growing without soil is a game changer. Think about places where it's freezing cold, like the Arctic Circle, or think about places where it's burning, burning, burning hot in the desert, and there really isn't an abundance of water, and the soil does not contain nutrients. Instead, it's sand. Here in this picture is a friend of mine in the United Arab Emirates who's growing squash plants using hydroponics in the middle of the desert. So, this soilless technique really can be a game changer, and you're going to learn all about it this semester. Do you personally grow a lot of plants with just water, hydroponically? Yeah, thank you for that question. I grow mostly in the soil. I haven't experimented a ton with hydroponics. The picture on the screen now is the greenhouse that I'm most familiar working in. And these are all trays of starts or baby plants, and it is all soil based. So by the end of the semester, you're going to know more than me, and I'm going to be coming to you for the tips. How do you get started? How do you get started on what you do? And where did you learn everything you know about food systems? Whoa, this is a big question because I have been in the food game for a long time. I just threw some pictures up here to give you a sense of where I'm coming from. I first started in food when I was 2 years old and I was making tortillas with my grandmother. How many of you have made tortillas with your grandma? You know what I'm talking about. It's hard work. Then I would always be in the kitchen with my aunts and my moms, really learning the family secret recipes. There you see a jar of chili. I'm now the keeper of this multi-generational family recipe. I lead every year my family's canning efforts to preserve this history really in a jar. I had my first job at Pizza Hut, the one on Abriendo by the Loaf and Jug. Now it's like an eye doctor place, but before it was a Pizza Hut, and I got my first job there when I was 15. Then when I went to Yale, I really got into investigating agriculture and corporate social responsibility, so how companies treat their employees, by doing some investigative research on a pineapple plantation in Latin America. Then I did some work. I kind of always worked in restaurants to pay the bills and ended up going to grad school at NYU, where I learned about food systems more deeply, but also worked at the James Beard Foundation. And that is an organization that highlights American cooking and awards chefs for having the tastiest dishes. Then I started to work in agriculture trade. So, how products move from one place to another. If you remember, we don't just eat food from America, we eat food from all over the world. Think about those bananas, avocados, mangoes, pineapple, coffee. All of those things are being grown in places outside of the United States, and they all kind of come to us. And I was really focusing on how that worked, what happened there. So the picture you see there is me in Korea eating some delicious food from a market. And then I really got my hands dirty and went to a farm in Massachusetts So this is a picture of the farm that I worked on in Massachusetts. Basically, it's been a lot of work. It has been a deep commitment to public service. And I know in my heart that food connects us all. So it's been really fun and delicious at the same time. All right. Is this what you have always wanted to do? How did you know you wanted to be a part of all of this? Yeah, again, from a very early age, food was on my mind. I absolutely love food. As I just mentioned, I think food brings people together. I believe wholeheartedly that everyone deserves a delicious, nutritious meal. I've always wanted to do my part to help my community and the food system, and it has afforded me so many amazing opportunities. This top picture with the plane. That's me taking a shot outside of the window. I'm flying over Germany in that exact moment. This group of really interesting folks were in California at a trade show talking all about food. This is a group that I hosted. Though in this photo, you have folks from 10 different countries from all over the world. Next to that is a beautiful bamboo bridge that I crossed in the Philippines. Below that, I'm in the beautiful desert of Arizona. All of these adventures I've achieved because of my work in food. This room with all of the people kind of staring up, they're staring at me. I'm on a podium giving a speech. So, there's lots of opportunities when you kind of find what you're excited about and really go all in. And that's what I did with food. Because again, I really believe that food brings us together, connects us to ourselves, to each other, to Mother Earth. And I really do believe that everyone deserves a delicious, nutritious meal. So it keeps me very busy. How is the Pueblo Food Project going? Yeah, thank you for that question too. Well, the first thing I would say is you can join the Pueblo Food Project. You can be, you can be part of the movement with us. So if you're interested, we have our past meetings on our YouTube channel. Tell your parents, hey, I heard about this Pueblo Food Project. Maybe you should go to a meeting, kind of twist their arm, join them. You can come as well. And we always have opportunities for folks to volunteer. I think we're doing very well. We were just awarded $175,000 to buy food for our community. I'm working on sourcing that all from local farms. So it's a really big win for the project. Here in these photos, you see some of the activities we've been up to. This is a Christmas giveaway, a holiday meal giveaway for those who don't celebrate Christmas. We were giving out food to folks who live in the Bessemer area. We have our edible landscapes, which are free to the public, food gardens at Sister Cities Plaza, Mineral Palace Park, Central Plaza. And then below that, you see a giveaway that we did with all Pueblo products for the Boys and Girls Club. So the project is going really good. And if you're curious about it, I invite you to join us. There's plenty of room for everyone, and your voice and your opinions are very important. And with that, I will kind of wrap up. Those were excellent questions. Keep them coming. If something else sparks your interest and you want to know more, do not hesitate. I look forward to following all of the great work that you're doing in your class. And if anything comes up at all, please let me know. Have fun, enjoy learning, and hopefully happy eating. Thanks.